Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name's Chuck. I make videos for NBA, make videos for NFL. All these videos, they get posted on this subreddit right here called DF Sports. I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. Anything you need, you can ask me questions about the slate. This will be linked down below. Or you can message me on Reddit Messenger, but that will be a lot slower for me to reply. And if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter right here or Reddit Messenger. Either or is completely fine. So let's go over my lineups from tonight. So, a little bit of a losing day. Not the worst, not the best. I mean, 2 game slates, I expect to. I just hate 2 game slates. But we'll go over my main slate lineup first. So, I mean, Jalen Brunson, I'm just going to tell you guys every time I play Jalen Brunson, man. Yeah. If you are interested in my core plays and stuff like that, private videos, my Discord will also be linked down below. But I'm just going to tell you guys when I play Jalen Brunson, I'm going to make an update on Reddit and tell you guys if Jalen Brunson is in my lineup from now on. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it because every time I play Brunson, he has the worst game of his careers. Every time I fade, he drops 55 fantasy points, just absurd stuff. My core today was LeBron James. He absolutely nuked. Jalen Brunson, bust. Quickly, bust. And Nurkic, bust. So, pretty unforgettable day on the main slate. Mitchell Robinson floor, Grayson Allen smashed. Vanderbilt, he was the best value. Once Eric Gordon got ruled in, that made the Suns' value basically out of play for me. Vanderbilt turned into, in my opinion, probably the best point per dollar value on the play. Also, like campaign at low ownership. I don't understand why everyone was jamming in Marjon Beauchamp. I talked about that in my private video. I just didn't understand that. So I liked like campaign, Bobby Portis, those guys at lower ownership. But yeah, main slate was definitely sucked. But Showdown, a little bit of a salvage here. My takes for this Showdown was go completely stars and scrubs, because every team on this Showdown slate, the Suns, the Lakers, the stars on this team are completely, they're way too high usage to the point where you want to be jamming. I told everyone to jam at least 3 out of 4, 4 if you could fit them. I didn't think you could, but we'll look at the winning lineup in a second and analyze it, which had all 4. And then my favorite value plays were Jared Vanderbilt and Drew Eubanks. They both did very, very well for their salaries. But as you can see, I jammed in 3 of the 4 studs, played Nurkic, played Prince, played Vanderbilt. My core was LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Jared Vanderbilt. The pretty much the best core possible for this Showdown slate. The winning lineup actually jammed in all 4 of the main studs, and I actually considered this. I didn't want to do it. I considered it. Didn't do it. But happy to see it win. But yeah, it took a 0. I mean, completely fine. So definitely interesting there to study this and see what one. Like I said, when you have teams like the Lakers, like the Suns, when the stars on their teams are so high usage, generally you're going to want to do stars and scrubs type builds, and that's what I pretty much hammered home for this Showdown slate. All right, let's go over this NBA 11-game slate. Finally, a normal slate. Hopefully, we'll get back my losses from the last 2 days. Hopefully, but Orlando or Cleveland. I don't have too much interest in Orlando. Tough matchup here going up against Cleveland. Orlando, also a really good defensive team. This game environment just screams disgusting to me. So like Paolo, Franz, they're playable for me in large field tournaments. Like if you're 20 max, 150 max, or fine. I'm not going to go out of my way to play any of these guys. I don't think I'll be playing them as last man's in either. This game environment just seems really, really bad. I don't like the price points on Cole. I don't like the price points on Suggs in this matchup. I'm not a fan of Goga. I'm not a fan of pretty much anything. I'm not going to get to the value either. It's a pretty easy team to talk about there. Pretty easy team to talk about here. Really, really bad spot. Orlando's been one of the best defensive teams in the league. So Donovan Mitchell, I think he's priced right. Evan Mobley, I would say, is a little bit overpriced. Darius Garland, I think, is priced right or a little bit overpriced. Jared Allen's probably my favorite play on this team. He's off his minutes restriction, so I would expect mid-30s minutes from him. He's well over fantasy point per minute guy. I don't mind him, especially with Wendell Carter Jr. out. Like, the matchup should be a little bit easier, so I think he's a fine play. I'm not going to get to any of the value, though. With LeVert out, we all know Craig Porter Jr. is going to be randomly in the rotation. We all know it, and he's going to smash. We just all know it, but no, you can't go there. Memphis at Detroit, so really, really good spot here. Obviously, Tillman is going to be back. We'll monitor what they do with the starting lineup. They've been changing it. So, a couple games ago, it was Derrick Rose, and obviously Brody. We'll see. I think they go back to that. So, with that being said, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. in a phenomenal spot. I think are both two solid plays. These two guys are going to dominate the usage as long as they stay out of foul trouble. Should play mid-30s minutes. Really good spot up against Detroit. I think they're both solid plays. I think I prefer Bane to Jaren. Santi Aldama, I think is priced about right, so hard to go there for me, but does have a ceiling. And then hard for me to get to the bigs with Tillman back. And then assuming Derrick Rose starts at the point, I think he's solid value at 5-1. Now, I would be a little bit careful here. They did troll his minutes, but I would expect around 30 minutes from him. Solid point per minute guy that can stuff the stat sheet. I think he'd be solid. And then David Roddy would be a fine value. I think he'd be priced right, but would be like fine. Just okay. Like last piece in type material for me. Jalen Noel, he'll get run off the bench. He was giga chalk in the starting lineup this game, just absolutely busted. We all know, kind of like Craig Porter Jr., he's just going to randomly smash tomorrow, but can't go there. He's overpriced. That's going to wrap it up for Memphis. Let's move on to Detroit. So they just keep changing their starting lineups also. I don't know what they're doing, but I think they go with this lineup again. Actually, I don't know. They keep changing it. They can do a number of things, like Thompson went back to the bench. Their latest starting lineup was Hayes, Stewart, Duren, Cade, Ivy, so I'd assume that's what they do again. With that being said, I mean, Cade has a ceiling at 8.6. I would say he's priced about right, but it's going to play huge minutes. He's like 1.3, I want to say, fantasy points per minute. You give him like 37 minutes again. Going to do solid at this price point. So, like Cade at the top. I like Duren quite a bit. I like the spot up against Memphis as well. I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. So, she'll play low 30s minutes. Really good rebounder, double-double upside. I think he's a pretty good play at 6'6". Going down further, can't pay that price for Thompson. They start Killian Hayes again. I think he's a pretty good value play at 5.4K. She'll play around 30 minutes. He's been a lot better this year and previous years. He's stuffing the stat sheet. I have no issue paying this price for Killian Hayes, assuming he continues to start. Now we do have Bogey back. If for some reason he's not on the limit, which I'd expect him to be, if they say they're going to increase his minutes, I definitely have interest. Now we'll keep an eye on that, but yeah, I'm definitely completely fine with some Bogey or Bojan. Sorry, if we get news that they do increase his minutes. So like Bojan, I like Duren, I like Cade, I like Hayes. I don't think I'll be going to anyone else though, but yeah, let's move on to the Sixers. So smash spot here. We also have Kelly Oubre going to be back. We also have Melton back. So Joel Embiid at the top going up against Washington. One of my favorite spin ups on the slate. Really, really good matchup. Double-double upside every slate. His assist numbers are up from last year, which means his floor is higher, his ceiling is higher. As long as this game doesn't blow out, he's going to play close to 40 minutes, which his minutes are up from last year as well. That's why people thought he had a little bit of a lower floor last year to this year. But this year, his floor is much higher. His ceiling is much higher. So I really, really like Embiid at the top. Now, we'll talk about Luka in a bit. We'll talk about Jokic, but I really like Embiid. If you can't afford Embiid, I still like Tyrese Maxey in this spot. Tyrese Maxey absolutely thrives in environments like this. She'll play around 40 minutes. Obviously, his numbers are up from last year with no Harden. I have no issue paying this price point for him. I think he's a solid play. With everyone back and everyone priced up, it's hard for me to go to anyone else. I would assume Kelly Oubre would be on a limit. If we get news that he's not on a limit, then I have some interest. But I would say 90% chance he's probably on a limit, and then I'm not going to touch the Sixers value there. All right, Jordan Poole is questionable, but keep an eye on if he's in. If he's in, I don't have too much interest in this team. Kuzma would be priced right. Poole would be a bit overpriced. Denny out of play for me. I kind of swore Tyus. Tyus should be priced right. Daniel Gafford, don't like the spot going up against Embiid. Don't like much else. There wouldn't be much here to like at all. But if Poole is out, that Kuzma going to lead the way offensively. If this game stays close, it's going to have to be a pretty big game from Kyle Kuzma. So I would like him for tournaments. Denny wouldn't really like. Tyus would be fine, but his minutes get trolled. His minutes are no guarantee. I would assume they start Kispert. He would be a solid value at 4-1. I would expect around 30 minutes from him. Now, he is scoring dependent, but we don't have a ton of value on this slate. So, yeah, would like some Kispert. It's disgusting, I know. Gafford wouldn't really change for me. If you think anything happens to Gafford, like if he gets in foul trouble, I will mention Gallinari, who will benefit from that. Not a bad point per minute guy either, so I just throw that out there as a just thought I'd throw that out there. If you think Gafford gets into foul trouble. Miami at Toronto, so Bam, Harrow, going to continue to be out here. I think Butler's a fine sped up. I just don't like this environment. I think his price is right now. Should be a slow, sluggish game, so only in play for tournaments for me, more of my, like that 20 max stuff. You can still get there in single entry. I'm just not going to prioritize him. Everyone else, I mean, they all seem priced right to me, like Duncan, Jackas, Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry. I think they're all fine options. If I had to rank them, probably Jackas 1. This is point per dollar. Jackas 1, Caleb 2, Duncan 3, Lowry 4. But all seem relatively safe to me outside of Lowry. Lowry's minutes have been getting trolled at some points, but yeah, I think they're all solid plays, like Caleb, Jackas, Duncan. They're all going to play decent minutes. And then they started Orlando Robinson at the 5 last game. Orlando Robinson's a pretty good point per minute guy. Played 30 minutes last game. If they start him again, I like him. Kevin Love got the backup 5. We saw Thomas Bryant be a DNP basically. So Love will be interesting for tournaments. But yeah, if they start Orlando, definitely like some Orlando. And I think these guys are all fine. Butler in play for tournaments for me. Toronto, just like I said, not the best spot here, but Scotty Barnes' minutes back to where they were. I don't know what happened here, but stuff in the stat sheet, doing everything for this team. Obviously, we know he's a good defender, can get defensive stats. Don't like the game environment, but an interesting tournament play. I think will be really low owned tomorrow. Siakam, fine too. They're both interesting tournament plays because I don't think anyone's going to play either of them. Dennis Schroeder feels priced about right. Jakob Poeltl, I think, gets around 30 minutes. He's about a fantasy point per minute guy. I think he's reasonable. Not going to touch anyone else. I will mention we don't have a ton of value right now, so Gary Trent should get low 20s minutes off the bench. If he hits his shots, he does have a ceiling, so I guess I thought I mentioned that. All right, Brooklyn's. There's a play here I really like for tournaments, and I hope he's not chalk tomorrow. And I have a feeling he might get some ownership, but that is Cam Thomas. Office, not on limit, played 38 minutes last game. He is their go-to guy, one of the highest users. But him, Bridges, they're going to take all the shots for this team. Insane ceiling when he's hitting his shots as well. It's just definitely a bit of an outlier last game, but we know he's going to shoot the ball 20 plus times. Him, Bridges just absolutely dominate the usage for this team. So, yeah, it's just Bridges 1, Cam Thomas 2. So I really, really, really like Cam Thomas at 7.1K. I'm hoping he's not popular tomorrow. But does have a low floor, I will say that. But yeah, playing 40 minutes, 7.1K, I like him quite a bit. Bridges is playable, but I prefer the price point on Cam Thomas. Dinwiddie loses usage with Cam Thomas back, but still playing big minutes. I think I would just prefer the price point on Cam Thomas. Nick Claxton should play around 30 minutes as long as he stays out of foul trouble. They're doing like dumb hockey subs with him. I think he's priced right, but I like his ceiling. Cam Johnson priced right. I'm not going to get to any of this value. Let's move on to Atlanta. So Trae Young, I think, is now at the price point to where he should be. So more of a contrarian play for me. Same with DeJounte Murray. The wings, their minutes have gone up of late, like Hunter, Bay, Bogey. I think they're all priced right. No standouts there. Capella, no thank you. Okongwu is priced right. There's just not much here for Atlanta for me. Spurs at Minnesota, so Collins and Vassell are both probable. Really bad spot going up against the Timberwolves. So Wemby, I think he's priced right. More of a contrarian play, just large field tournaments, but we know he does have an insane ceiling, so that's my only interest in him. Keldon's priced right. Don't like the price point on Collins. Vassell's priced right. There's just not much here. Basically, almost a cross-off for me going up against Minnesota. Ant is questionable, but fully expect him to play. Fully participated in practice. So that being said, I do like Ant. A really good spot going up against the Spurs. Now, can the Spurs keep this close? We'll see, but if this game stays close, I think Ant is a pretty good spend-up, playing huge minutes. Obviously, stuff in the stat sheet, their go-to guy right now. So I like Ant at the top. I don't know why Cat's I don't know why Cat is higher priced than Ant. I'd much prefer Ant. Everyone else is priced up from when everyone is out, so tough to go to anyone else. I will say, I think Rudy Gobert is still fine, playing huge minutes. Last year, he wasn't playing this many minutes, but 39, 37, 36 minutes. They continue to play him this much. I definitely still have interest in him. And then everyone else is priced up from when everyone is out, so tough to get to anyone else there. All right, this game, I have a ton of interest in. You guys know I hate playing players against Chicago because they play at a snail's pace. But no LaMelo, Mark Williams is questionable. I really like Terry Rozier at 8.1K, playing huge minutes. He's their go-to guy right now. He's handling the ball a ton. I really like Rozier. I think Miles Bridges is a solid play at 7.8K too. These two guys, they're like I said, they're just playing huge minutes. They're dominating usage. I think both are still a little bit too cheap, so I like Rozier. I like Bridges. We'll see if Mark Williams plays. If he's out, they start Nick Richards. He shoots up to as one of the best value plays on the slate. Would really like him. PJ Washington, if Mark Williams is out, I definitely like him at 5.4K. He'll get a minutes bump, might get the backup 5 as well. So I like PJ if Mark Williams is out. Gordon Hayward, I think it's priced right. Brandon Miller's priced right. But yeah, I really like. Why is my mouse going backwards? The hell? But really like Rozier. I think Bridges is solid. If Mark Williams is out, Nick Richards really good value if he starts. PJ Washington gets a bump with like him for tournaments. So there would be a lot to like here. Chicago, already a lot to like here. So really good spot going up against Charlotte. No Levine. I really like both the top two guys here. Vooch, DeMar, really like both. Both get a huge usage bump with no Levine. Both also playing huge minutes right now. Given the matchup, it's close. I just really like both. Maybe slight edge to Vooch, but I think both look great. Really like both in a really good spot going up against Charlotte. I think Kobe White's still solid even at this price point as well. Just playing huge minutes. He gets used to bump with no Levine. So all three of the top three guys look pretty solid to me. Torrey Craig, pretty important news. If he is out, more minutes for guys like, Patrick Williams, possibly Io. I think Patrick would be reasonable if he's out. If he's in, he's still playable, but for Craig out. And I don't think I'll get too much else here. I think just the main guys look pretty good to me. Let's move on to OKC. So SGA, I'm fine with. I think one of my, I think I'd rather play it for like Embiid, Jokic, Luka. So not my favorite spend up on the slate, but still playable. Chet, 7.9, reasonable play. I think he's priced right. Josh Giddey's minutes have been absolutely slashed. So Jalen Williams, he's gotten a really big usage bump with no Giddey's minutes getting slashed. He's basically taken over from last year. So I think Jalen's interesting at 6'4". I think he's priced right, but interesting. Giddey, just unplayable right now. Lou Dort, like I said, we don't have a ton of value. I mean, as long as he hits his shots, he can make value, but it's disgusting. Isaiah Joe should get low 20s minutes off the bench. I think he's a reasonable value. I don't mind him. And then Casey Wallace has gained minutes of late, playable value for large field tournaments. Houston, so I'm going to keep playing Sengun every slate. I think he should be like a 10K player. I really do. They're just running their offense through him. He is double upside every single slate. The main two Rockets, they're going to play huge minutes. I'm not scared of Oklahoma City Thunder defensively, so I think Sengun's still a good play, even at 9K. Fred VanVleet, I like quite a bit as well. It's just a minutes thing with these two guys. Like Fred VanVleet, if he's going to continue to play 40 minutes, his floor is basically like 4.5x value. It's absolutely insane. Stuffing the stat sheet, also double upside. So I think both the top two Rockets look pretty good here. Jalen Green's priced about right. Jabari's priced about right. Not going to play Dylan Brooks. And then Tari Eason, Tate, they're both fine darts for value. Utah going up against Dallas. So Clarkson, Markkanen, they're going to continue to be out here. We also have Kelly Olynyk out. So, looking at this team, I think my favorite play is going to be Keontae George. I actually think he's a really solid play, even at this price point. Played huge minutes this game. He's been shooting the ball more. Obviously, we know he's a stat sheet stuffer. High floor, high ceiling if he's hitting his shots. I think he's a very solid play, even at that price point. John Collins had a ceiling game, but I think he's getting to the price point to where I think he should be. You're at 7. Minutes up and down with him. Him, Walker Kessler, kind of splitting the center minutes right now. Given the price points, I would say I prefer Yurt, but the minutes I would say are a bit more risky on him. But both good point per minute guys. I definitely have interest in both for tournaments. Colin Sexton should get big minutes, like around 30. Good point per minute guy. I think he's reasonable, but seems priced right. Simone, I don't know if I can go there at that price point. But he'll play big minutes. He's safe, very safe. Just not the best point per minute guy. And I don't think I'll be playing anyone else. But, look who George is playing alongside. I think George is a very solid play tomorrow. I mean, it's tough to say with this Dallas team right now. Everyone's questionable. I will say this: if everyone's out, then Luka's the best spend up on the slate. I would definitely leave news room for this news because I'm gonna prioritize Luka if all these guys are out. And even if they're in, Luka's still a really, really good spend up going up against Utah, so it doesn't hurt you too much. So I really like Luka regardless of if everyone's in or out. If everyone's out, then Lively. He played huge minutes, had a really, really big game. I think he'll be a bit over owned because of this game, but he would be a solid play. Derek Jones Jr. would be solid at 5K, would like him quite a bit. Hardy would be a solid value. Exum would be a solid value. Seth Curry would be a solid value. There would just be a lot to like here. And then if everyone's in, it's just Luka at the top for me. Wouldn't really be playing anyone else there. Portland, so we'll keep an eye on Ayton. He is doubtful, and we'll keep an eye on Simons. If Simons is in, I really, really like Simons at this price point. Just way too cheap. Brogdon would be overpriced then. Sharp would be overpriced then. I wouldn't get to Scoot. I wouldn't get to the value outside of whoever they start at the 5. Like, if Duop Reith starts at the 5, I really like Duop Reith. You're going to get more minutes for Jabari Walker. I think he's very, very interesting. If for some reason they start... Like, if they start Jabari Walker, I don't think they will, but if they do, he is the best value play on the slate. It's not close. I still like him regardless. With Ayton most likely out, should get a min bump, really good point per minute. Duop Reith, if he starts at the 5, I really like him for value. He would shoot up to one of the better value plays on the slate. And then, yeah, keep an eye on Simons. If he's out, Brogdon, Sharp, these two guys have run the way offensively. I think both will be solid. I would prefer Brogdon to Sharp. And then if Simons plays, I really like Simons. And then we'll see who starts at the 5. But definitely some value here with Portland. Warriors, pretty easy team to talk about. I think it's just Steph in play for tournaments for me, and that's basically it. I don't think I'll be considering anyone. Denver, last set of games here, or last game here, guys. Jokic, always one of the best spend ups on the slate. I still think he's a little bit too cheap, so really like Jokic up at the top here. Michael Porter Jr. overpriced. We'll keep an eye on the news here. Hard to get to anyone else. Even if they're out, everyone's still priced right. So just basically the same thing with Dallas, just Jokic at the top for me. And Clippers, basically a cross off. I don't have too much interest in anyone here. I think Harden, Kawhi, Paul George, they're fine. Given price points, I think Kawhi is my favorite. Zubac might have to play more against Jokic, but I love the price. So that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. Hope you guys had a good night tonight, and I'll talk to you all in the next one.